We are live on Real Talk with Mike Burke. What's up, buddy?
Real talk.
Real Talk. I've got the pleasure today to be in the presence of greatness. This guy right here is absolute gold.
I don't know about all that.
Thanks, Mike.
But I do appreciate it.
If you dig a mountain, this is where you get the gold right here. This dude right here is
You very well make me blush.
I don't care. You're worth it. Jeremy, what's your last name?
Logsdon.
I know that.
A rare one.
Logsdon.
Yeah. Put that on a bubble sheet.
No shit.
Fill it out.
Yeah, Jeremy Logsdon. And everybody in Charlotte knows who you are. Everybody. If you have bought rims and tires in 30 years in Charlotte, North Carolina, every rim and tire shop in the country knows you and knows you as the wheel and tire king.
Extremely humbling to hear.
You are the king of wheels and tires. Now, I got to ask a serious question. Where did the fucking hustle come from, bro? Like, you have such a hustle that I have not seen in anybody except me.
Definitely, I'd have to attribute all that to my stepdad.
Okay.
You know, he was a pull shark, car salesman, but he always raised me with integrity. He's like, man, the number one thing is integrity, you know? And we didn't have a whole lot growing up. You know, I grew up in a double wide. It was home. Mom, I mean, you would have thought that it was anything but a loving, wonderful home. And it was just a simple double wide. Garden, flowers. My mom took great care of it. A lot of pride in the place. And we didn't know anything different, you know. The first time I probably got to experience like Miyabi's, like a Japanese steakhouse,
Oh, really?
you know, or things like that. It's like, man, this is good.
Bro, we went to Chris Rock Irene one time. I was so happy.
I can't do it. Yeah. Trying to quit. But, you know, just to experience the next experience, you know, in life, you know, and I was taught that that's always going to be available as long as you have some integrity and, you know, live that way, you know, with your daily routine.
Where was this at?
Place called Gallivant's Ferry, South Carolina, as country as it can get.
Gallivant's
Ferry, PD River. PD River.
Never heard of that.
Oh yeah, I'm an old catfisher, mud fisher. Oh yeah,
Noodling.
Yeah, man. No noodling. No, I knew better than that. There's beavers and there's big turtle.
Oh, really?
You don't want to reach into their hole.
That's crazy.
But, you know, growing up in the country like that, you know, my neighbor was the deer. He was the butcher for all the hunters, you know. So as a kid, that was probably my first job was hauling off the remains for a small fee, but it would pay for fishing lures and, you know, a new pole from Walmart or somewhere. But, you know, that, just my parents, you know, my stepdad was a hustler and I watched him make $1 million, you know, 4 or 5 times in my life. We go to the top and to the bottom, to the top and to the bottom.
When you say top to the bottom, how did he get to the top and how did he get to the bottom?
Well, network. And like I said, you know, your word is your name is your word, you know, and that's how his foundation was set. But he was a closet, you know, drug addict, you know, that you would have never functioning, like never amped up, never like, blah, you know, you see some of these people on pills or drugs, you know, you would think that, hearing that, you know, he was a functioning drug addict that I don't know if it motivated him to be the person that he needed to be, but I never got to see anything like that. No drugs, any of that. And just the attitude shifts and, and the, just the trials and tribulations, you know, from his lifestyle as a kid.
What did he do?
This is my stepdad now.
Sure.
You know, my father and my mom separated when I was young from Detroit, born in Detroit, moved down here. My mom met my stepdad when I was probably 2 or 3, you know, and he raised me. He was my dad. So
what was he doing?
He was like the finance manager for Honda Cars of Concord.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then moved to, you know, Sam Johnson Lincoln Mercury, and he went to Arnold Palmer Cadillac. He worked there for a while.
So he's in the car business.
Car guy.
So you knew
Automotive guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was young, growing up at the auctions with him, you know, tobacco, spit, and, you know, cigarette smoke. You know, that was the old days when it was interesting to be in, to see the industry through that scope, that lens then.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool. But so I got to tag along on stuff like that. But, he always raised me to not be like him. And I never knew that until later in life, right? I never knew that the reason all these lessons he had taught me through the years was he never wanted me to be like him. So that was probably my greatest blessing from him being my stepdad. So, but a 2-parent home, very important. You got to have a mom, you got to have the nurturing, you got to have some,
Discipline.
you have to have the discipline. But that's what got me, raised in the aspect of hustling. And it wasn't a negative hustle. It was, if you work hard, you can experience anything you want, and the only way you can get there is through integrity and people that know that your word is bond. They want to know that they can rely and count on you. And that's how I was raised.
Where did that go today? Like, I don't feel like that same value system.
Man, it's definitely a dying breed, and to see it's, alarming, troubling, sad. I think that everybody wants instant gratification today. Everybody wants to be able to take those things that they see out here in the world. TikTok, Instagram, everybody wants it.
I blame energy drinks.
Energy drinks.
Think about it. When we were young, it was coffee, and I think Red Bull came out, like the late, early 2000s or something? Like, when did Red Bull really come out?
I would say, it's about late 90s.
I can't even remember.
I don't even
I'm
know.
not a big energy drink.
But the thing is, you look at this and go, okay, we had outdoors. You just said you fished, you hunted, you worked at a buddy's, deer processing plant, hauling things off. You did manual labor.
Sure.
As not only fun,
right,
but also to learn the value system.
Sure.
And honor, respect.
Sure.
Hey man, I got that. Let me get that for you.
Right.
Because you wanted something in return that if you did something for somebody else,
right,
you knew that they were going to do something for you. And it was like a give
reciprocal. Sure.
Now it's the kids that are jacked up on phones, TikTok, Instagram, all the social medias. And it's their brains won't slow down enough to process real information.
Grasp the fundamentals.
Just the old school days of like, go outside, play till the street lights come on and come on in. I mean, Garrett, you're right on that border of that. Did you experience that when you were growing up?
So for me, because I've talked to my mom about this a lot. When she was growing up, she wanted to get out of her environment. She knew that there was something better out there, but she had to do it on her own. When I was growing up, she wanted to give me all the things
Right.
that she never had because she could.
Right.
So you get a lot of this entitlement coming from, and this self-centeredness coming from, well, I'm owed, I'm given, I should be given this because I've been told I should. And not a lot of people have the wherewithal to say, not a damn thing is owed to me.
Right.
I can get that on my own, or I can use the help that I've been given to get it on my own.
What do you think we can do better? Is it schools? Is it parenting?
It's parenting 100%.
It's parenting. It's not going to come.
So back to like the Miyabi's thing, right? Yeah, Japanese steakhouse. Yeah. Right? The first time I tasted like hibachi.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's amazing, right? So I was like, ooh, I want that again. How do I get that again? How do we get here again? How do I do that again? Right? And when you're young, like my dad of that, parent in the home, he's like, we're young, you're a kid, you're, whatever, AC/DC t-shirt, you got your Vans on, your hat backwards. He's like, hey man, fix your hair, tuck your shirt in if you want to go eat with us tonight. Right? You ain't wearing that. You want to go with us? Dress up, tuck your shirt in.
Look presentable.
Right, absolutely. If
you're representing, you're representing me.
Absolutely. And once I realized that was the key to having a good dinner with the family when they, mom and dad would go on their dates. Well, you get a little older, they started letting you tag along. So, man, I would be dressed up before they were like, hey, where are we going today? And, so that was some of those foundational things that he taught me.
Right.
It starts with the basis,
So
presentable.
Let's fast forward a little bit. You worked in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Wheels One.
Yeah, so Wheel One was like a
Factory.
Chinese factory direct distribution center that supplies all the wheel and tire
I
stores.
think that's when you and I, maybe we had met earlier on with Lightning Mics when I maybe tended a car for you.
Absolutely.
But I dabbled in doing some dealership things.
Right.
So what I was doing is we're doing headrest TVs.
Yeah.
We were doing some backup cameras.
we're killing it.
And then all of a sudden we were doing packages for like SUVs, like, trucks and SUVs. And then they wanted 20-inch rims. This is back when you could get 20-inch rims and tires. And there were so many rims and tire packages where I would just buy the rims and tires already mounted and balanced from you guys, and I would just bolt them on and then put it into the deal for the dealership, and I was just making a profit. Never even had a wheel and tire machine.
That was an idea, that I came up with in about my first 8 months of being an employee of this company when they hired me. Was, hey, if we buy mount balance machines and we put it in the warehouse, we can target all the car stereo shops, all the tent shops, anybody that doesn't have access to this high dollar equipment.
Right.
And send them everything ready to bolt straight up to the car. And they were like, flew me immediately out to LA. We went to some factories, looked at, manufacturers, equipment, picked out 17 sets of machines, sent them to all the major hubs in the US. And then we started buying tires. Then we had a problem with finding tires. Then we had to go direct buying containers of tires. And, so I kind of pioneered that for the company then, and which helped me grow, with that responsibility. And it also grew our company. It had to have been 30% the first year,
And Will One was owned by who?
A gentleman named Billy Yang, Taiwanese.
Okay.
He was one of the first people for Henry Kissinger that actually helped pave the way for Asian imports. So back in that administration, when I tried to free up some of the things,
How did you get that job?
through a mutual friend that knew I was a car guy and I knew how to talk to people, and I paid attention to the details. And he had a spot open when they announced opening this hub in Charlotte, which we were the 7th in the country, out of 29 it ended up being, and said, hey, man, you're the only person I could think of. I'd want to come do this. I got a sales job open, 6 months later. He had unfortunately made a few bad moves, and they had, promoted me to manager of the warehouse. And from there, 6 months later, I became their first ever manager of the year for a company. And 6 years.
Bad boy right here. I
No,
told you was the king, man.
It was. And
6 months. See, there's talent right here.
I never asked for it. I never, it was really.
Talent doesn't have to be asked.
So absolutely.
If you
I never asked for a raise.
you can spot it.
Right.
This is what I was trying to tell Garrett earlier. When the guys come to me that work for me and they ask me for money, hey, man, I need a raise. You don't deserve it.
Right.
When I watch and I see and you don't ask is when you get.
Sure. I can tell you, I never have had to ask for a raise my entire career in what I've done. I've always gotten a check and be, oh, wow, $80. Ooh, extra per week, bring home. Sweet. The managers give me a wink, or the boss, or whoever. Yeah. So through the years, that's kind of how it happened for me. I never asked for money at this company. And, my 7th year of warehouse manager of the year straight for the country, they promoted me to VP of operations over the company and sent me to China and Taiwan to do the purchasing, the logistics, quality control, new designs, things like that. And I'm a 10th grade dropout. I never went to college. Just sheer ambition, resilience, the want to, experience something better and to be the best at what you've done. I put, like a lot of foundational people, I put a ton of hours of research on my own into my industry because I always wanted to have the answer. If anybody ever called me for anything, I wanted to be the one right there that can answer the question spot on. If I couldn't answer it, I never would lie to somebody. I never would give them some BS. I would say, hey, give me a few minutes. I'll figure this out completely for both of us.
Do we put a mirror in front of you?
Who, me?
Yeah,
Oh, this guy?
because it's the same exact, just same mentality. It's really cool.
It's it was a lot of fun, coming up through that because, it's an intriguing industry. The automotive industry is a lot of fun. There's always something moving, there's always new cars, there's always new trends, there's always new fads, and I love being a part of that. I love a blank canvas. And that's what I tell people every day that walk into my shop today. I'm like, man, your car's a blank canvas for me. I don't care if it's a Kia, that's a 1998, it's a blank canvas. It's an opportunity for me to help you feel better or look better and achieve what you're after.
That's your outfit.
Absolutely. Like on my Instagram page, we help one define their personality.
Right.
That's your automobile is a lot of your personality.
So Will won 7 years and VP. Walk me through the transition of going from VP and logistics going to China and how that experience was.
Oh, for me, we'll back up to the first 6 months that I received my first ever Manager of the Year award. Billy called me and says, "Hey, I need you to get a suit and prepare a speech." And I was like, "For what?" He was like, "You're going to be my first ever Manager of the Year, and we're going to speak at this banquet. You're going to speak at this banquet to accept your award." Now, never done anything like that in my life. I was terrified. So I think I rented a suit, and I didn't even have the money to buy a suit, man, at the time. Now, prepared for this trip a couple weeks in advance. My wife and I, we've been raising children since we were 17, her most of the credit for sure. However, our last week together, my mom was like, "Hey, let me watch the kids. You're going to be going for the first time ever, first time on a plane, first time meeting other people at my other warehouses that I've had phone relationships with, around the country. That I was, doing great numbers. So of course it was, you're excited to go meet these guys and show face, meet these guys on the other end.
Big time.
Right. And it's the first experience ever on a plane
Sure.
in a corporate environment at a banquet to speak even to wear a suit. I mean, I don't think I ever worn a suit in my grandfather's funeral or something, before that. So, my mom watched our three sons, that weekend so we could have an intimate weekend together because we never have had time together like that. Because I've also never been gone from home for 10 days straight, right? So my mom watched our kids, and the day we picked my kids up, of course my mom's excited. Let me back up a little. She's excited. We just bought our first house in Harrisburg by the Speedway. And, life was doing great. We were right on track with, actually probably way ahead of where we thought we could have been, as a young family. So a single income family at that, but so my mom watched our kids, and we went to pick them up, and she's in a robe cooking breakfast, cooking some sausage, frying some eggs and stuff, getting kids are all, happy to see us. We've been gone for a few days without them. So they've been with my parents. And my mom goes to the washer to take a big load of clothes out of the washer to move them to the dryer. She's in a robe, she's frying, food over here, stove's going. And a sock falls out of her whole armload of clothes, right? So she's reaching down with a finger with a whole load in her arms trying to grab the sock, and she misses it. And she's like, "Well, dang." And she bends down again and falls straight into me. So I grab her and I'm like, "Mom," like, "You all right? What are you doing? Let me get it." And her whole side was melted, like her whole face was just like one side was just limp in her body, and I had to hold her.
No.
And she had a major stroke. So before that, she had a headache all weekend, right? She was telling us, "Man, I've had just a cracking headache. I went to the doctor and they gave me this to take, and I don't know, and she just had a banging headache for 3 days." Well, she does Pilates and aerobics. She worked out, very fit, beautiful woman, Cherokee, real independent, wash her own car, super active. And she had ripped an artery in her neck and didn't know it from exercising, and it ripped it. So it was repairing itself when it scabbed up inside. And anyway, she bent over like a crimped water hose and blew the clot off, and she had a major stroke right there. I'm leaving the next day to go to LA. Right.
Oh,
So it kind of, held things back. Now I was going to LA for my first ever managers conference at our corporate headquarters. And from there we would go to SEMA to represent our brand at the SEMA show, in the Will Hall. So in the South Hall. So never been there, never experienced a flight, any of that. Now my mom just had a stroke. So we had to pull the plans back from going, call the owner. He was fine. He's definitely family first. Absolutely. So, my mom made it for 3 days, and, you never think you'll be the last person to talk to somebody like that. And I was the last person to talk to my mom. So it was on a late night, and she'd been recovered. She's like, "Look, 72 hours. She knew all about it. With a stroke, they give you a clot busting shot, can dissolve it. Or if you have, it can give you an aneurysm instantly. Right. Or, we're just going to see if it'll subside, right, without taking that, because I don't want to take a chance on that." She was already looked forward to it. She'd already went through all the what ifs, and smart woman. So she ended up, the 72-hour time was coming, and my flight, I could have got a flight the next day. And I wanted to just talk to her because she was doing better. You know, she was actually, she could communicate and talk. Her executive side was still good. And I had that talk with her. I just sat in her hospital room at like 10 o'clock one night after work. I went up there and just hung out with her, just me and her. And I told her everything you'd ever want to tell your mom. You know, hey man, thanks for grabbing me by the ear and twisting it. Thanks for making me hold the door for every lady. You know,
Those were my Playboys, that sort of stuff.
I mean, mom, you know, she would make you better hurry up and run and get that door before she gets there. You know, and I mean, you have to run and hurry. You know, and that's, my mom expected that. You know, yes, ma'am, may I please, thank you. Right. So I just thanked her for all the things she's ever done to help me as a young man out to navigate the world, right, and make me who I am, right, as a better person. So, she's like, yeah, you know, matter of fact, I hit $800 on my sock drawer. Go home and get it when you go to Vegas. Make sure you bet on black, right? And I was like, really? Because I had nobody. I was like, all right, you know. And she's like, yeah, go get that. And, you know, you go and you have fun, and I'm so proud of you. And you go, yeah, it's awesome, you know. And so I went home. As soon as I fell asleep, phone rang 2 hours later. Neurosurgeon, hey, we need the family up here right now. Got up there, mom's gone. She's not left us, but the swelling had hit that your spinal column, you know, where your brain connects, and it just disconnected her. So now it's a thing of the decisions we had to make to keep her alive. And she's really independent, so we knew she'd be really upset if we, you know, made her, you know, handicapped or dependent on somebody else, basically, right? She wouldn't want to be that. She's too independent. So anyway, we went through a lot of family discussions. It was really traumatic for my dad and my sister because they never had that conversation with her. She's already left them, you know. So I was the only one that had that awesome conversation. So the next day, that next morning, we had, you know, my sister was like just profusely crying, you know, because she, you know, it's her best friend, her mom. Yeah. So I'm sitting there trying to console my sister. Now I've got a lot of peace in me from that conversation, right? Well, I woke up and I just had a lot of peace, you know, about all of it, and whatever happened. And so my sister, you know, I remember grabbing her hands and praying for the first time ever in my life out loud. And it was the most amazing experience I ever had. And when I was done, we were done praying out loud to God about his will. Yeah, I let go of my sister's hands. She let go of mine. We're wiping back tears. I look over and my mom's hospital room door opened up, and the nurse was like, she just went.
Like, just like that.
Decision.
No. That's when I met God. I'm not a big church going person. So very faithful. I have my relationship, you know, and that's a big part of my foundation as far as righteousness, you know.
He's doing right.
You have to. I mean, why wouldn't you want to? I mean, to tell a lie, to tell a lie, or I mean, just so many people chase the wrong reasons for doing anything.
I agree.
And some people just say things off the cuff, not even realizing the impact and the magnitude of it, right?
The words mean something.
Absolutely. So, you know, that's when I met God, yeah, right there on the spot, man. He answered my prayer right there, just like that. And it opened my eyes up to a whole new realm. So fast forward, I called my owner. I said, hey man, can you get me out of here? You know, my sister and my stepdad, they're losing it. I got to get out of here. I'm good. He's like, man, absolutely. Catch the next flight. Went out.
Were you in LA?
I was here in North Carolina.
I know, but you were going to LA.
Yes, got it. Going to LA.
And you were going to piggyback there before you went to SEMA.
Right. So I came the last day of our manager's meeting, so I missed them. I got to LA about 3 p.m. Got to my hotel, and I remember sitting on the pool patio, just kind of like by myself. It was kind of refreshing and nice, and just got off this flight and seen them, you know, Ontario, flying into Cali. You know, it's a really cool experience. And so I'm sitting there at the hotel. All my guys show up. Met all the guys right there around the pool. A lot of condolences, you know, and then whisked right off to the dinner. You know, right off to our banquet. I had to speak.
Oh
yeah, just like that.
How was your speech?
I don't remember. What'd you say? I don't remember. I'll tell you. So we get there, and I look around, man, there's got to be 200 tables with 8 people apiece on them. It's the biggest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it was
intimidating.
Everybody's dressed up, right?
You were intimidated.
Absolutely. I'm like, I was just blown away at the magnitude of it. Now, you know, they did all this, speaking. All of our factory workers were there. All the factory owners.
Everybody.
Went so many people.
And who was winning an award? You.
Well, that was the part that was surreal because I still never felt like, I'm not an entitlement person. I never felt like I deserved it, right? And I never walk around like it's mine. I should have got it.
Yeah.
So when they called me up on stage and gave me the award, I remember grabbing the mic, looking at all the people, and I was just like, first thing I do is thank God, thank my parents for, making me who I am. And I just blacked out. Seriously. No, I spoke. Listen, I don't know how long I spoke for, but I remember just like coming to and handing the mic to the owner, like,
You don't remember anything?
I don't. And it was out of body experience. I promise you, on God, right?
That's
that's my word, yes. And
so you made it through the
it was crazy. So I looked, and every woman in there was crying, and every man was applauding. Right?
Oh.
Everybody's out of their chairs, and I was like, I don't know what I just said. It was cool. So my buddy's like, hey man, flame the Lamborghinis, let's go, shots. I'm like, all right, get me off here. So then we get to drive the SEMA, and it's the first time I ever drove a Mercedes Benz. The owner looks at me and says, hey Jeremy, you manager here. Threw me the keys. It was S65 with his Lorenzo package on. He's like, you guys jump in my car, and I want it valeted here at this hotel. And so we got to do the cannonball run through the desert to go to Vegas. It's awesome. Oh man, it was epic.
It's an hour and a half.
Better
flying.
We had a car train. It was just a blast.
Oh, it's 4 hours?
Oh, I thought it was
3 hours.
I thought it was like an hour and a half.
I thought we made 2 hours and 50.
It's a quick flight, but that's what it's.
Yeah, about 2 hours and 50 minutes. And, I believe we made it that time. And, we had a great time. It was awesome. And, something got into me during that whole moment of my life, those few weeks, where I could never let my mom down. And that's just something that stuck in me, And
Did you start pushing harder?
I did.
So you woke up and said, all right, I got to do more.
Right.
This is not enough.
Absolutely. I mean, well, absolutely. I feel that way all the time about everything. I mean, I'm a super ADHD.
I think we're identical. I think we're twins.
I'm always processing something before I even say it.
It's funny because I gravitated myself toward you years ago, and I seem to gravitate myself more towards people they're like me. It's like, oh my God, you're like me.
Right.
Like, holy shit, I found one.
I'm like, there's an alien.
I'd say the first time I was probably a little scared. Like, oh my God, wait a minute.
He's like me. Holy shit. I'm not fucked up.
Hey, cheers to that.
I thought I was one of the only people that was just completely messed up in the head, but
we love what we do. You're passionate about
it's just having fun, man. Like
you help people. You do what you love.
You are the Google of wheels. I'm not kidding. Well, if you are working on wheels and tires, he is the Google of wheels. And it's not that Google's right. He's right, because he knows the car that has the hubs, that has the rings, that has the balance, that, hey, you need 5 weights on that back wheel, because that back wheel, I don't care what they say on Google or the book says it's wrong. This is what's right.
Hey, I've made my mistakes.
But this guy, he could write the book.
And I know you've slipped up with a razor knife with Top 2010.
A few times, man.
No, I'm just...
So you went from wheel one to all the trauma that happened around what you did, being the manager of the year, plant of the year. 7 years, you walked away from wheel one, and take me from walking away. You went to SEMA, you worked in manufacturing. So you did SEMA, then you come out back from SEMA, and you came back with a new plan in your head. I think you came back with like, well, all of a sudden I want to do
going to SEMA.
Open your eyes.
Somebody just to go spectate, right? It's a great time, a lot of walking. To me, I'm an exhibitor, so I'm stuck in a booth all day, every day, and then whining and dining at night, taking care of my high profile clients. So I never got to enjoy SEMA, ever. It's from the hotel, beeline, late nights, early mornings, right? And
feet are killing me.
So I was more excited about being able to just take SEMA in as an enthusiast, right? And that's, that's something I got to experience the last 10 years. And some of my kids, so I'm like 18, 19 years to SEMA every year, and it's became our family vacation.
Yeah.
My children, my wife, I mean, we love it. We love that trip every year. It's
I almost dread it now. I'm on the other side. So I'm working with Expel, and I work the booth now.
Right.
And I go there, and honestly, there's not much that excites me about cars anymore.
Right.
Like, honestly, what excites me is seeing a resto mod. or somebody that took some old car and they tricked it out to something and it's still got patina.
Oh yeah.
And then it's all done underneath. That kind of stuff is what I like now.
Yeah. I mean,
Anybody can put a lift kit, rims, tires, paint, like it's like
the creativity out of all of it, you know? So, you know, when we came back from, Taiwan, I had that, like you said, that just moment of clarity where I was like, man, I have to move on to the next level, you know, my own life for my family. I mean, living out of a suitcase 7 months out of the year. That's not healthy for 3 children and a wife. You know, stay-at-home mom, raising boys they
need their dad.
They need a dad. So, some discussions with the owner led me to just taking a break, you know, a couple of weeks. And I was just like, man, the biggest weight was off my shoulders. It's a lot of responsibility to run, you know, 29 hubs, 200 people, and all the product coming in from out of the country to where it's going, and who's not getting it, and yada, yada, yada. So, a company called Wheel Pros bought American Racing Wheels, and they called me up and says, hey, we just bought this company. We're going to merge. We would need you to help us, you know, merge these companies, right? And my buddy Shannon Lepley invited me to come to Tennessee to train with him on both of their systems, and which is really, a lot of fun. It was a new chapter, and done that for about 1.5 years. A lot of bureaucracy with, new people coming and going. You're going to have the guys that are afraid to put themselves out there and to be vulnerable for the ownership to see them if they were kept from the other company. They don't want to step on any toes and, you know, lose their own job, right, when there are a lot of stuff flying around with positions. So the bureaucracy just led me into going out on my own, and that's right.
When was that? What year was that?
2005,
11, 8?
Oh no, 11. I think it was 2011, maybe.
So
I think 2011.
Where'd you go on your own? What did you do? Would you just brainstorm and go, I'm going to open up a shop? Or
well, listen, I was ready to go all in. You know, all the chips in. You know, remortgage the house. All my credit cards were paid off. Calling all the credit card companies, give me what's my max limit.
That's an entrepreneurship mentality right there.
Can you bump my limits?
When you're willing to risk you.
Right.
Did you hear what he just said? That's gold. You were willing to go completely in debt,
absolutely,
remortgage everything, and say, I'm going all in, put my chips on the table on you.
Betting on black.
I knew if I didn't bet on black, how would you ever know what the dice rolled? You know, you have to go for it. And if I didn't make it, some strange reason,
you can always.
I did not have any reservation about doing it.
100%.
Was not, absolutely. I was all in 100% that I would make it if I just had an honest shot at it. And you got to realize, when you field the phone calls out of 3 or 4 states territory of every shop, I don't care what shop it is, they're calling us. They're calling me. Most of the biggest shops anybody's ever heard of in our region, I'm who they want to deal with, you know, and I'm proud of that because I had the answer, you know, I tried to find the answer.
Right.
They didn't have time to wait for somebody to figure it out. They needed to talk to the person with the answer. But you gain that, you build those relationships, and you also see how knowledgeable their staff is, how discombobulated they are as a business, right? From the front to the back, to installers making errors and calling you to fix it and help you or lie to you, and warranty claims, all the stuff that I dealt with in volume for so long. It made me realize how much better I was at the industry than the ones that were calling me that were making lots of money.
Big time guys,
weren't
really doing it the way they should have been doing it. You come in and found all the little leaky holes.
Well, here's the problem I see today is all the people that made the money, that built their business, whether it be a family, 3rd generation company or what have you. No one runs it themselves anymore. Everybody wants to go to the Bahamas and go, jet ski all day or go fishing or, go play golf. You have to still represent who you are because your people will never reciprocate that. You have to do that. I'm there at my business 4 days a week. I started taking a day off a couple years back, and
going fishing,
doing the things that I've deprived my wife of and my children, of so long.
Does the wife actually like fishing, or does she just go with you?
I've turned her into a fisherwoman, and she has beat me many nights. I've lost many bets.
Oh, my Lord.
I have.
I love it.
I love it. The bet on the boat.
Who's
prepping food?
Facebook is the best thing and the worst thing.
Yeah.
It's the best thing because people put their best moments.
Oh, yeah.
And so nobody puts their worst moments.
Oh, no.
So it's like you need to have a Facebook page with like the truth serum. They basically, I'm showing you this picture, but I gotta hold on. I should have showed you
Zoom
the
out,
one,
zoom
like-
out, zoom out, zoom out.
I order as many nights from Bobby Flay. I'm cutting all the vegetables, all the cucumbers, and all the,
Yeah.
And because I lost that bet fishing.
That's all good.
Because I was
So
a teacher. I
the
tell her.
thing is, if you were going to start a business today, and you were talking to entrepreneurs that were going to start a business today, give me 5 steps of what you would do first. Like if you work for someone, like say they work at a wheel and tire shop, or they work at a manufacturer, and they want to go out on and do what you did and went out and got on your own. And Jeremy, you're one of the founders of Wheel and Tire Exchange. It's a flagship store in Charlotte. I don't even know how many millions of dollars a year you do in sales, but like every athlete, every professional person that owns a car dealership, works at a Bobcats, the Hornets, hockey teams, football team, Panthers, like the who's who, the who's who. I was telling Garrett before we even got on the air, I said, if you go through my Rolodex of clients or contacts and yours, we could do some damning in this city.
That we could.
Yeah, and the contacts that you have and just the relationships that you've built, what could you give 5 steps? Because the show, I want to be inspiring a little bit to new entrepreneurs.
Sure, yeah.
And to go, okay, what's a 5-step process to go, okay, I'm going to start a business today, and it's not going to be on TikTok. It's going to be hard work, ethics, morals, values, opening a door. Give me the 5 steps that you would tell your son that's following in your footsteps to say, I'm going to go start a business on my own today. What would you tell him?
Well, first, it's easy to tell somebody how to do that and somebody to actually apply that. So that's why it's so important to have a role model or surround yourself with the best people in your industry. That's my number one. I did that. I always attracted myself to the very best service providers in my industry. I get Mike Burke on the phone. You spot on all the time and quick, no waste of time. So I always paid attention to those guys that I would buy wheels from when I was just working at a tire store, and I took the 3 best guys in the industry at the time when I really found that passion for it and honed all 3 of all 3 of them were good at one thing or the other.
Right.
So I was like, man, I could take that from him and this from him and that and me. And
You made your own hibachi.
you absolutely. And, but you have to have the fundamental goal setting, a piece of paper and a pencil. Write down, what do you want? Pros and cons. Go down the list. That's the first step of anything in life. You have to have a goals list. What is your goal? Where's your next step? Where do you plan on being? What are you going to do when you get there? Right? That's free. It doesn't cost anything to sit there and dream. Everybody dreams about so much, but put it on paper and get real with it. The reality of what it is and what it takes to achieve it. Right? That was the first step for me, is actually just writing that list and then going through and knocking them off one by one, and all the way to building your credit, all the way to avoiding buying something you didn't need and tying your credit up because you want it and you feel like you deserve it. That's important. You have to have control over that.
Yeah, that's really important. I think today's world, the importance of using your credit wisely,
Not smart.
not buying your wants.
Sure.
Like, oh, I saw this, and go and then tie up your credit. If you wanted to start a business, you need to be as clean and have as much open credit as you can to go and start your business. I mean, that's important. I think a lot of businesses fail.
It is.
Because they just don't have that line of credit that they need.
It doesn't happen overnight.
So I'm gonna ask you a question. When you started your first business, how much receivables was owed to you over time? Like when you would, sell a set of rims and tires maybe to a dealership or to an account or something, and then you had to wait 30, 45 days for that money.
Yeah, many. That the number would always fluctuate based off of season. The automotive season, aftermarket is tax time, in summer, early summer, right? Then it kind of fades down. But same way with your business and mine today. It's like it's consumer driven. So if buying cars are doing 10, they're buying wheels, right? So it has to be a healthy economy. I think that through the years, it's always been about the same, through the years. But the number that you could put on that, I was just taught how not to extend credit. I wouldn't extend a lot of credit to many shops or dealerships, because that the name of the game is hold your money, make interest off of my money, and then pay at the last second to keep my account active. And that's what sadly a lot of big businesses do, is they work their money for the interest side, or rob Peter, pay Paul in some cases. But I just never got into extending all that. But that's managing your own finances when it comes to that.
So when you put everything on the line and opened your first business, how far from when you opened to being profitable?
I mean, the first month. Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a break even, and I had a little change.
Where was your first place out on your own?
Right there on East Independence, right across from Bojangles Coliseum. It was the first place I felt that we could afford to gamble at, and with the traffic count,
right,
and it paid off. Now we've overgrown it. It's just
you need another facility.
Well, we got the building beside of us, but I have zero desire to expand, simply because I can't be the one that takes care of my clients. That's the problem. I would love the franchise, but it's it takes a lot to teach a team how to do the things that our team can do.
See, one thing that I coach small businesses on is exactly what you just said. You wrote a piece of paper and you wrote your goals.
Sure.
Your goal is to be there for your clients, to be at the facility.
But how many people don't have that goal in industry right now?
Not a lot.
I'm saying, how many show up actively? I know so many people in shops that I go to, that I frequent, that the owner's not present, and it reflects in their staff ability. I think
that's why you hire guys like Garrett, who you just whoop them and beat them to death.
Man, hey, if you need a job, I'm hiring Garrett. I want you to.
You won't like him. He won't like him. Oh, he's not that good.
It's so valuable to be able to have a good staff. You have to be there.
But you have to help.
You have to be there.
You do. You've always had good staff.
I do, but the cat's away to mice play. That's anywhere. If you're not there, it's silly. It's small things that keep the big picture going, that a lot of people overlook, that aren't us. You're really picky at the small details. The small details matter.
So the thing about Jeremy is, if you go there, he will walk through a car, walk you through the process. He still loves the interaction with the clients.
Absolutely.
And that's the passion.
That's my greatest.
Absolutely. Right. And that's why everybody wants to go to Will and Tire Exchange, because AJ, he took on a partner down the road, and AJ can share some of those responsibilities.
Sure.
And the place has grown and it's maxed out.
It's a lot to keep up with. So you need two good people. We were two great people from the
and the thing is,
together.
Everybody
knows how it works.
Knows that that's the go-to place to go, and it's because of you, and it's because of the relationships that you build over the years and the trust. Everybody values whatever you say, because whatever you say is the truth.
Yeah.
And that's this gold.
Well, to me, I don't think that gets any better to know that as a business owner and a person that's supplying a product to somebody, is to have that confidence in what you do and knowing that they know that. And that's something that I work hard for every day, to continue to have the answers.
So when you said you bought your first house, came back, when did you actually buy a bigger house and actually look back to your wife and go, baby, we fucking made it?
We haven't said that yet, but I can't.
You haven't said that?
No, but my
I do have said
my second house from our second house, which we live in currently.
Yeah.
When I did get it and I got the keys to it, I did stand in the yard and I was looking around at all my neighbors, and I told my wife, she's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, I feel like I might get arrested. So I'm gonna call the cops on me. Yeah. I just didn't feel like I bought. Yeah,
you glassed up a little.
I would class way up. Just had to pace myself.
You have beautiful home, man. You still live in the same home, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So we love it. It's home.
And then you bought a freaking house at Lake Tillery.
Yeah, bought that.
That's your little.
That's our getaway.
It's got a roof on it, right?
It does, just big enough to.
I just want to make sure. Right. I know you're in a camper. So I didn't know we're going to tarp, and it's like a little hut.
Listen, sometimes we'll roll it up and let the wind just blow in. A little mist, a little rain.
So you built a truck. This blue Demon lifted. How big is that? Like a 12-inch lift on that thing? What is it?
Oh, the AMI Silverado. Yeah, that was for my eldest son.
Yeah.
Born super premature.
Yeah.
Right, and wasn't supposed to make it. Muscular dystrophy, Down syndrome. They deemed him with everything. We're 17. We got a baby, 3 pounds, neonatal for over a month, and we were told that he's going to be a codependent child his entire life. Right, prepare for it. And iodine baths. I remember going to bed to touch him. It was really a scary time for 2 kids with a kid. And through the years, he just wanted to show everybody that he could do it. So through the years, now my oldest son, Corey, he's 29 now, right? He's taking his pilot. Your son's a pilot, but he's taking his check rides this coming week.
Awesome, man.
He's in the Air Force, been there 10 years, and jiu-jitsu, man, he's all about it.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like my kind of guy.
Trained with Rafael Lovato Jr. for
Love it.
Loved him, Oklahoma City, and so he was a lot of my inspiration behind it. It was a blue truck. It was he's in the Air Force, so aim high. If you aim high at anything, you're always going to get great results, right? So that's why I named it Aim High Silverado, because
It's a blue truck. It's pretty sick.
blue and silver, the Air Force colors again.
Still got a 4-cylinder in it, though, right?
Yeah, 2 of them. But yeah, so I just wanted to do something special. He was a car guy. He loves cars, right? It was my opportunity. I always want to build my own SEMA vehicle. You go there, you see people's cars, and I've seen so many people build SEMA cars and pay other people to build them for them. It's like I want to build my own truck from the ground up and just know that I did it.
Did you turn the wrenches on it?
A lot.
Did you?
Yeah, but I had 2 people help me.
So what garage did you house this thing in? Because it needed to be air.
I wish I had a video so you could see it, or a photo. It was a single stall barn on my buddy Ross's property. And he's got like 10 acres in the country. It looks like a zombie apocalypse piece of land when you pull up. Old rusty cars in the street. You would never even venture on this property. And so in the back, he's got a barn, 2-post lift, and we stripped it down. And it took us about 1.5 years to build it. And, I'd go over every night after work till 6. I'd go over there till 2 a.m. I couldn't see going home 3 a.m, for probably a year. And my good buddy, Sean, Automotive, down in South Carolina, done the interior. And then we had Pro Fabrication and Concord do the twin turbo system on it for me. I dreamed it up. I was like, I want to do rear mounted twin turbos, and because it's lifted, you can't see under the hood. So
Did you ever dyno it?
wouldn't fit. So, and then you think it's, the drive shaft angle and
600.
you could turn it up to whatever you could get the drive shaft to do. But the problem is I painted and polished every piece under it. I spray painted every piece I could paint, blue or silver, and attention to details there. I put a lot of that in there, but it was
It's never going to be for sale.
So I took it to SEMA. My son got to take leave from the Air Force.
Yep.
The whole family went. It was a family bucket list thing. I got to travel across country, trailer it, that bucket list car guy stuff.
Did you trailer it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, man, that will
Me on this I-10, 90 miles an hour wood road. That's just 3 days. Oh, dude. Construction zones with semis, mirrors like 4 inches apart. Yeah, going through construction zones. Yeah, that'll make you a driver. But so my buddy Rob Tingman,
they're right.
is my roadie.
Yeah.
Me and Rob's put miles in his trucks.
He's good.
So generous with his
He's still
equipment.
doing the was it ATV wash stuff and all that.
Yeah, man, he's like
doing good?
he's like you.
Yeah, I know
He
he
got his
is.
hands in a bunch of
I
stuff.
know he is.
He's got a car dealership, RS Motorsports. Plug him in. He's a great guy, and he's a car guy,
Good.
And we had some great trips, and got to spend a lot of time on the road with him, showing the truck. And Street Trucks magazine picked it up right after SEMA, and readers voted on it. Ended up being 2020 Lifted Truck of the Year for Street Trucks magazine. So to see that and be like, well, something I built was actually awarded something of that caliber.
We're gonna
It was trophy, man. So it's kind of like a child to me. I don't want to get rid of it, but every time I look at it, I'm like, you need a bath. I hate you. I need a ladder and 2 hours.
Any of your boys gonna work in the business with you?
Yeah, my youngest son works there,
Yeah.
and works in the shop with us.
Is he learning how to do the trade?
Him being the youngest, he came up watching his other brothers. He's the one that ducked all the flying hands and all the things that kids get to experience from their parents. He soaked up all the good stuff, right? And he's the one that came in hands-on, just all in, same thing. He's all in. He wants to do. I've tried to run him off, like, go do this, go do that, do something else. I've been really blessed I never could chase, I never had any other passion but this, right? I never had any other path, right? It's the path I was on, the path I was stuck on. I loved it. And I never knew anything else. So I've always been like, hey man, go experience something, go learn something about, chase your passion.
How many employees you got now?
11.
11. That's more than I thought. Go ahead.
Which, back to that, if we skipped and kind of went into a roundabout way,
Sure.
we still need 3 more things for entrepreneurs.
Well, back to the making a list of goals, setting your own goals, preparing your life for the transition, in your own finances would be number 2. Number 3 would be surrounding yourself with a good network of other people to help you, that if you needed help for success or to push you over, if you needed it, just that.
The extra
I could call you right now if I had a problem. And
I'd be there in 2 seconds, whatever you need.
Right here, man, we'd hammer it out and we got a good plan, and it'd help. So, 4 and 5 would be, you have to treat your people like you want to be treated, right?
I agree.
The problem is with people, not that it's a problem, but so many people are raised so differently, and everybody wants the gratification. Everybody wants to check up front. Everybody wants to do the least amount of work. I mean, we all are that way. Everybody wants to take the path of least resistance.
I don't. Walk right into the fire.
Well, no. So many people do though.
I wish I could be the other guy.
Well, that's why you're
literally
Australia.
I literally have said to myself, can I take the other pill? Because I am sick of my brain. Like, turn it off.
Well, I feel the same way. Mine's always on. So, but I also know what it was like to be the kid coming up as a dropout and working at a shop, getting my fingers and toes stepped on by guys that weren't as strong as me. They were older and been there longer. And they, made it tougher for me to climb that corporate ladder or enjoy my job, So I want to make sure my guys have what they need to love life, live. And that's number 4. My guys I've got a great crew because I don't have turnover. My guys don't leave. I've added a few guys through the years, but none of my guys leave. They don't leave because everything that they would want in a job is there. I feel like, and I try to provide that for them and that environment. And
what if any of them came to you and said, hey, I want to open up my own shop, but I want you to help me?
Absolutely. I'd be 100% behind them. 100%. And you look for that out of people. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had, because I came up as a tire installer to a counter guy to a, service manager, and then I got into the wheel industry, young. I always extend that olive branch like, hey, anytime you want to quit hurting your back and come to the front and learn how to sell this stuff, you do everything that it takes to sell it. You know how to describe
Right.
13 things that we do every day. You could be a salesperson and you could change your life. Your money goes up. And most of my guys are comfortable where they're at. They love the life they live. They're happy doing what they do, and I'm happy to have them because, man, when you have zero, installation issues or errors, that's just a great feeling, to never have to deal with that. And we don't. We've got such a great crew that cares about what they do. My sales guys are all there. I would love, anytime if any of them ever approach me and said, hey, I want to open up a location in another place, I'd love to support them.
Garrett, this is the baddest dude on the planet for when it comes to wheels and tires. I'm telling you, if I've ever wanted wheels and tires on my truck, which I've probably done 10 trucks over the last 20 years, I pick up the phone and I text him, and I don't even call. I just text, I need these rims. What do you think? He'll say, you put these tires on, put this color. I wouldn't do this chrome because they've been chipping. I would do these. And it would just be like the ones I want. He would be like, bro, if you want those, that's fine. But here's the problem with those.
Yep.
This is what I will steer you to is these. These
Don't
don't have
longevity or flash.
Here you go. You're like, there's your ADD kicking in. We'll skip past 4.
We skipped we did 4 and we haven't done 5.
Where the frick is Pop? Go ahead.
So I want to
go ahead.
Before we get to 5, as part of subset of 4, what has been the most common thread thing you have seen from that that have kept your employees happy? That across the board, what has been the thing that you have done that has provided such an environment in which people have stayed? Because everybody says, oh yeah, it's money, it's adulation, it's gratification, it's this. What is something that you do?
Great question.
So many employers stay disconnected from their, the personal life and the way your employees live. It's difficult to be somebody's dad or be that person. But I try to engage with my people and, let them know I care. I try to have conversation to find out how they're, what's going on in life. You okay? Things good? I want to tell them I appreciate you. I want to pat them on the back,
That a boy.
You have to have it,
Listening.
you have to listen, and if guys, then how to work around an issue if they've got one going, right? It makes you a better manager of them as your employee. But
How quick could you replace one of them?
oh man, it'd be tough because my guys are that good. I mean, I put that much confidence and faith in my guys.
But
I
if
would
you
put them
did
up
lose
against
one,
anybody in the country.
If you did lose one, since you are the go-to guy and everybody wants to learn from you, I'm sure you got a Rolodex of people that have come and said, "Hey, man, if there's an opening."
Oh, I do. Definitely.
See, that comes with experience.
Sure.
See, that's the one thing I'm going to hone in on. I have a Rolodex of people waiting that are actually, when I meet them at conferences or I meet them at other shops or I meet everybody, and it's not that they're waiting. It's
Right.
if you get an opening,
They want that opportunity.
Mike,
Sure.
I want to learn from you,
Right.
and I want to be on your team. I know I'm here. I'm not unhappy, but I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
And they reach out to me and they text me and they say, "Hey, Mike, listen, I met you at a conference. I know you don't know me, but if there's ever an opening, I want to work with you." And I'm sitting there going, man, that has been the most humbling thing for me.
Sure.
Because I'm just, at the end of the day, I look back and go, man, I'm just an average guy that does work. I just put my grind on. I do my thing.
Well, positivity attracts positivity.
You're
And
that guy
and that's
in the wheel and tire industry.
Well, and I appreciate that. That's humbling again, to hear that. But I want to make sure that my guys never have to worry about going out of business, somebody taking care of them, something happens, who's there for you? If you have that as an employee, knowing you have a foundation under you,
Right.
then it's priceless.
Stability.
Stability is
Stability is a big key.
It
I
really
agree.
is.
I agree
Yeah.
with that 100%.
So, I try to provide that stability with the way I live my own life.
Right.
I mean, it goes back down to being an owner, number 5, you're an owner, you have to live, as an owner, you have to change the things in your life that could get in the way or interfere with you being a professional. You have to separate that.
What's an example?
I mean, for me, the easiest, quickest example for me would be running the business and guys seeing you interact with a client over a red eye, we call a red eye complaint, right? A problem. So I'm going to go to a big one we just had. And we had a brand new Ferrari SF90 come through the shop, $800,000 car, max option, incoming, built these wheels for it. One of my other salesmen sold the wheels. And wheels came in, we're stoked. We had to wait for these carbon fiber barrels that come from England for 14 weeks, and it was just behind schedule. And so they finally got there, and we popped a box, and that's what we live for. We're like, oh my God, look at these
Candy. Christmas.
epic, The guy comes and look at him, he's like, oh yeah, I don't like those. Yeah, I don't like them. Now this is about $18,000 set of wheels and tires, right? So when he, I'd put,
I hope he prepaid for
well, $8,000 down. Okay. So this is number 5, guys. So I was like, well, look, they'll be beautiful on the car because they are. That absolutely, any of us would have been like, dude, on that car, that wheel kills it, right? But he was old school. He liked a deep dish wheel, and the other 2 Ferraris we had done had deep dish wheels, right? Deeper lip, outer lips, a little wider, And that's what I told my salesman. I said, it's one of those things you have to pay attention to with your client is you have to remember that he has deep lip. He likes that face set back, and he likes that dish, right? He's an old head, old school guy, old cat, top of Wells Fargo, great guy, right? And great dude, but he's old school with the way he likes his cars to look. And I've just, from the outside looking in, seen that and watched that go down with my sales guys. And so I told my salesman, I'm like, I can't believe that you missed the fact that that's what he always wants. So when he picked this wheel, why didn't you describe, hey, it's going to be a little small, little lip. It's not going to be what you normally used to. He needed that picture painted, and he didn't do the job. So I wasn't mad at the client because I already knew how the client was. I'm on the back end of this deal trying to fix it because he don't like the wheels now, right? So I'm like, okay. So as an owner, and my guys and the good face, I'm not going to sit here and argue with the client. How many people did in this end? I can tell you, I've watched it many times. How many people would fight tooth and nail to make him shove them down his throat?
Almost everybody.
Okay, so here's the problem. Here's what that does to you. Number one is he's going to rebuke his credit card charges that he gave me my deposit on. You're going to lose him as a client for life. He's going to be always mad at you for treating him the way you did over what he didn't want, and all his friends are going to know. Okay, so that's a given. And so my first thing was, hey, I know what your other cars look like. I know what you want. I'm going to give these wheels away and lose money to somebody, a few grand, whatever, just to kind of sever the tie and get, And he's like, you could give them to me for free. I wouldn't take them. And I was like, perfect. Let me get the correct ones coming. No other discussion. Ordered them up. Came in, happy guy. Matter of fact, at that moment when I showed him and painted the picture, he's like, yeah, charge me for the rest. I'm good. I'll be prepaid. That way I got to worry about it when they come in. Now I'm stuck with a $13,000 set of wheels. But, back to the guys, it's like just showing them that, hey, man, if, you have to eat crow sometimes, but you also have to, if you didn't do the 100% job, you have to take responsibility for it. And at that moment, I could tell that he wasn't happy, and I knew it was going to make him happy, so I made him happy. And you have to do that. You have to. Here's a second part of that is, as an owner, you have to have those funds available to set on a $13,000 settlement. Now, granted, all the other inventory we have, $500,000, $750,000 worth of wheels in stock. You have to be able to absorb that and know that it's dead presence for a while to come. So you have to live your life accordingly. And a lot of people don't do that. They want to go buy a Denali. They want to go buy a boat. They want to buy a motorcycle. They want to go buy a Rolex. They want to go buy, some Travis Scotts and all. Everybody wants to ball out, but they don't want to prepare for the downfall or the economy. Tariffs, it's going to drop. What are you going to do, right? You have to prepare for that. That's number 5. So as a business owner, you have to prepare, and strategize for your future in a downfall, right? And,
I talked to Garrett, and I'm sitting there like, hey, bro, we can do that shit in about 2 months. I can't do it right now.
Hey, there's a lot of stuff. I'll tell my wife.
He comes with ideas, and I'm like, it's a fucking great idea, Garrett. I love it. Just give me 2 months. I need to recreate.
Isn't it nice to have confirmation from somebody else sometimes?
It really is. It really is.
That's my wife. She's, what do you think? Yeah, no. Or she asked me, and I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
But I think
it's good.
Number 5
is honest.
Is a huge one, because everybody thinks, okay, I could just get into business for myself. I'll be this, I'll be that, I'll be this. But nobody thinks about the hard time. Nobody thinks about the dip in whatever. And nobody thinks about, okay, well, this is seasonal. Okay. A lot of my Instagrams and stuff like that for the shops, I've been calling it car season. Not only is it pollen season, but it's car season. Everybody's out now showing off their car.
It is.
And it's peak.
So I'm going to end this, and we're almost done. It's daylight savings time to daylight savings time is game on. So that's season to me. Like it's game time, right? So as soon as the lights get dark at 5, season's over. It means it's time to clean the shop. It's time to remodel. It's time to put new lights in. It's time to retrain our staff in the new sales processes. It's time to put new systems in. As soon as the lights go out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, season's over. Okay, that's, to me, daylight savings time is the last day before daylight savings time is basically the last day of season. Okay, so people used to ask me, they go, well, how's your season? I said, it's daylight savings time to daylight savings time. So as soon as it went daylight savings time, what changed in me?
Oh,
different person.
Oh,
trainer mode.
No, it's on.
No, it's on like Donkey Kong.
I'm texting every guy, every person on the team,
Listen.
everybody, what's going on, group text, where are we at, where are the sales, what are we doing, are we missing any calls? It's game time, bro. It's game time.
Mike is that crazy ex-girlfriend right now that just will not leave you alone.
I feel that way every day with my guys.
I don't in the winter, because what happens is that's my strategizing mode. That's when I go dormant and I think and I go, okay, what can I do better? How can I improve the company? How can I simplify process? How can I become more efficient?
Sure.
So how do I take the funds that we've made during harvest season, and where can I allocate those funds to better the company? And I'm looking at a building. How am I buying this building? Where am I going to find the money to do it? What company am I stealing that money from to go and allocate to buy this new building in Arizona? How am I going to go grow the shop that one of my other employees now wants to open with me? And I'm sitting there going, okay, well, how do I do that one? Okay, well, how do I do this one? And I'm like, okay, well, if I took 10% of the money from this company and I took a little bit of the money from this company and I went in one piggy bank and
Right.
but I was like, all right, I can fund that. And I go to my mind, I go, no, I can do it. Let's do it. But they go, when do you want to do it? And I go, we need to do it now because the money will run out and I won't think this way and I will not have the same enthusiasm when daylight savings time hits because it's game over.
Right.
I'm now, you got to catch me during season. And so when the guys come to me with ideas, like, let's do it. Let's go.
Right.
Because now I'll hesitate because I know there's cash flow coming in to, if we fail and make a bad decision, I can recoup from that bad decision quicker than I can in the off season.
Yep.
Way better to be proactive.
So the thing is, I was like, hey, in the off season, I don't make risky moves. I want to make sure my employees have paychecks. I want to make sure the bills get paid.
Right.
I want to make sure the tax man gets paid. I want to make sure that nobody's knocking on my door.
Hey, that's a testament to your success. Yeah.
And going back into preparation is being able to eat crow and say, yes, we messed this up. No problem. We'll take care of it. No, those things that happen.
I feel like we do that about 80%.
Right.
There's a certain element of me that is like, I'm not going to get, so ours is we get blamed for damage on cars.
Sure.
That we didn't touch the car.
Sure.
Like, how did we,
That part. Yeah.
how did we hurt your back tail light? Or
Right.
we put film on your glass.
Right.
So what we did is we've got cameras in the shops that are now live streaming on YouTube.
Right.
Live.
Right.
I had a body shop, then I'm going to end on this one. Body shop called me and said, hey, we had a GT350 in your shop and there's a big scratch down the bottom. I'm going, okay. And I said, do you have YouTube? And she goes, yep. I said, go to my shop right now and scroll back the cameras and you can watch the footage and see if anybody ever touched the car.
Right.
Oh my God, this is so cool. This is great, blah, blah, blah. And I said, didn't you guys tow truck this car over to the shop? And she goes, yep. And I said, it's right below the bottom door on the crease, right? And I said, yep. And I said, it looks exactly where someone would open up onto like a rollback.
Right.
And it's
That rail on the side of the roll bed, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I said, it looks like something like that. And she goes, you know what? You're probably right. But I just wanted to call you and see if anybody, I said, ma'am, you were trying to blame. I said,
Listen,
transparency.
your people painting that picture by doing this package, here's what's going to happen. By making this decision, here's what's going to happen. That's what all my guys already have in them. So the complaints, how can you have a complaint if you prep them in advance for what they can look forward to?
That has been the best thing for me.
Yeah.
I've been telling clients, hey, what we're doing is not a science, it's an art. This might pop up. If you see it, just let us know.
Absolutely.
I have gotten more texts like, hey, this, you were right. No problem. Let's get it in. Not,
You warn them.
dude, what the fuck?
Expectations.
So
It's incredible.
So marriages end, relationships end, businesses end with your employees. Unmet expectations.
Unmet expectations.
If you set the expectation from day one, I'm a dog, you're going to be sleeping with fleas, and you choose to. No, I'm just right.
Get ready to scratch. Right.
Man, Jeremy,
Hey, man.
we got to end it, brother. Thank you so much for your time. This guy's amazing. Garrett, as always.
Mike,
Real
Garrett,
talk with
thank you.
Mike Burke. Thanks to wife for coming in and hanging out in the studio. Garrett, Micah, my producer. Real talk with Mike Burke. Later, guys.